Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Brad here. In this video, we're going to be doing our landscape painting demo and assignment. So for you guys, we're going to be doing landscape painting. You can do seascape, even some skyscape stuff. But basically, we're going to do nature paintings, like kind of doing like a vast expanse of like nature scenes. All right. So um, I have some examples for you that I've done in the past. So this is actually I don't do a lot of landscape paintings, but this was the last one that I did during quarantine here. Um, so it was kind of a park that was closed down here in Tacoma, and so I did painting. It's like empty with a lot of like really. I used a lot of bright colors in that one, and I don't know why. I just wanted. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that one yet. Maybe I'll do a story about that one later. But this one is a nice. It's a nice painting, and I'm not going to do one this large this time, or probably this detailed. Um, but you certainly can. All right, and so I want to encourage you guys to, you know, uh, enjoy this painting project. I've been sick. Excuse me. I've actually been pretty sick. So normally I do these paintings, in a class because I do them pretty small. So this is an 8x10. So this is at Olympic College that I did in the fall of 17 and the fall quarter. And you can see some of you guys might recognize that if you've been up on campus. If you guys haven't been on campus yet, if you're an Olympic College student and you haven't been on campus, then you probably don't recognize this. But for those of my students that are at Olympic College, you might recognize this building. Actually, I don't even know. I haven't been up to on campus in like 2 years, so I don't even know what it looks like there. I think some of the buildings have changed. In fact, I know things have changed, so maybe that doesn't even look like Olympic College anymore. So anyway, I have other paintings too, but you can tell like a lot of these are pretty small. I did a lot of 8x10s because I could do them in a class. Um, so this one was a demo where I actually painted the back like this. I was trying to show students like I painted this whole thing was red, and then I painted over it, and so you can see little spots of red kind of in certain areas. So you don't have to do that. I actually did that with that larger painting that you just saw um, of the empty park. This one I did not do that with, but it's another, ironically, another empty park. That's from Tacoma though. And then some of these other just little scenes. Now, this is a common thing that a lot of students like to do is like to do like a backlit sort of sunrise, sunset, because then you don't have to worry about like the tonality of like the trees and because that presents extra challenges sometimes. It just depends on what you're going for. But this is just kind of to focus on the outline and or the shapes of trees a little bit more. So when they're backlit with a sunset. So a lot of times if it's your first painting, a lot of sunsets and sunrises are popular choices. I don't necessarily recommend that. I say challenge yourself and keep, doing what you want to do. If you want to paint sunset sunrises, that's cool. I love those, but challenge yourself. Uh, this was kind of like an all a prima, all at once sort of attempt at things. This one, now, I'm going to show you this. This was an example I did for some students too, and I wanted to show this again. We got like the sunrise thing happening here, but what's what's cool about this demo is a lot of students really struggle with how do you get like that really like variegated. This is a variegated like two colors in a sky. Like I got like this light orange and this blue, or like just a graded sky where it's like dark blue to a lighter blue. How do you get like that smooth transition? And what I want to just recommend for you, if you're doing that, because I don't do this in my demo for this painting that I'm going to do, but if you want to do that, you want to capture that element in your painting, I suggest mixing up a lot of paint and working really wet. You might add some water. If you have like a retarder, that would help too. I don't actually have any retarder, and I don't generally have any, and so I didn't have any for this. So I just used a big brush, used some water, used lots of water, and worked fast. And if you do that, you can kind of layer it. You can see it's not perfectly. There's some streaks in there a little bit, but you can kind of work them out a little bit, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And so something, if you have questions, email me. I can help you out with that too, or leave comments below. But I can help you out with that. So anyway, that's something else. But a lot of my skies, they're not so flat. They have different. They've been worked over one way or the other. Like even in this one, like the sky, it's not perfect, and I think that's kind of more interesting, or at least with like the cloudy sky, So anyway, it just kind of depends on what you're after. This is even a very simple sky like this. It's not just flat one color. This is a demo that I used. I painted over an existing painting, but this was from Ecola State Park, and it turned out pretty nice. Very simple form. Anyway, again, there's another kind of, if you're thinking about skies, there's different ways to kind of do this, and different approaches and whatever. So if you have questions about that, maybe I'll make another video. So leave me a comment and we can do paintings about skies or whatever. So you could do landscapes, you can do waters, like a water seascape stuff. I'm totally cool with that, especially here in the Northwest. There's lots of opportunities for those. And then skyscapes and whatnot. Basically, if you're doing nature scenes, I'm cool with that. So anyway, I apologize. I've been sick, and so I have to cut this video kind of short in like how I'm talking, because like I just basically just shut down halfway through this painting. I thought I could do it all really quickly, but I couldn't, and so I'm going to show you. I'm not going to. Oh, I guess you can kind of see part of it. Oh, don't look over here. That's the painting I'm going to be showing you guys next, how I accomplished it. So it did take me a couple days to do. I actually started it on one day. I was doing okay, and I totally lost my voice, and I just slept the next day completely, and then I finished it up today. So I'm feeling a little bit better, but good news is I don't think you can get my cough and my sickness through your computer screen. So anyway, stay tuned. Let's see how this painting turns out. Okay. All right, there we are. This is our canvas we're going to start off with. I did prime it. This was the one I did that lighthouse initial sketch on, so I just kind of painted over it instead of erasing it. I just put a nice kind of lavender grayish kind of wash over it, top of it. And because we're going to be working on this, I thought maybe that might be a decent kind of background color, kind of this grayish, kind of purpley, kind of somber tone. This is all going to be covered up probably 100%, so it doesn't really matter too much, but I just like having this better than white. So anyway, that's what we're going to be starting on. Sorry if you can tell I got a little bit of a cold, but we're going to push through this, and the show must go on, right? So here we go. All right, this time I decided to draw with the paint itself instead of like a graphite, and with landscapes and stuff, I just prefer that method. And it also just allows you to move things around a little bit more. So you'll see that I shift proportions. I paint. I make corrections with the paint itself. So here I'm just mapping out the composition and just kind of blocking things in with some color. It's even tonality, it's not even right. I'm just drawing with the paint essentially at this point, kind of mapping things out, what the sky might look like, practicing some trees. And if you paint flat, you can always paint over them. So that's kind of what's going on here, which you'll see. I'll paint over these in just a second. So just kind of working in some of the lights and darks of the sky. So getting kind of like this lighter values in there before I go over it with the darker clouds. Far enough, because I'm going to paint over this anyway. So it's like if I make this trail and I just make it go all the way over there, when I go with the green, I'm going to just go over that anyway. So don't limit yourself. You can always usually make corrections with the paint as you're going. So You know, another thing that you can do kind of while you're drawing this out and just kind of mapping out like the values and stuff before you start like kind of putting like the more finishing touches on it and rendering it. Like this is like to me, it's like the underpainting of it. You know, I'm gonna still try to keep it painterly, but we're gonna ultimately bring this and make it look more, a little bit more detailed, a little bit more rendered, more a little bit more recognizable, not so hazy. You know, I like that. I mean, we could go this direction, and I think it would be really cool. I think a lot of artists do that, but you know, one of the nice things is like when you're in these stages, you can practice like making trees and stuff. Like you can, you know, practice those things that you're going to do in the final, but you can do them here. Because, you know, if you paint over, you know, you're like, I don't want to paint over that tree. It looks great. Well, too bad. Paint over it. Get over it. Or leave it or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, you know, practice them here and you get so good at them, you won't even think twice about painting over a tree. You know, your first one, you might be like, oh, I love this tree. I hope it never goes away. Okay, well, you paint 1,000 trees and you're like, big deal. You know, it's not that you don't like them, it's just you can do it again. And so that's the idea, you know, like, you know, practice, you know, get some that look a little funky, whatever. It doesn't matter. What the heck is that? Who knows? All right, not a good tree. We'll paint over it. So just yeah, you can practice during this like this stage too, and you know again, this is all really like I'm focused on values like lights and darks and the overall kind of composition here, and then we'll layer and we'll build on top of this. But you gotta have a foundation for your painting. All right, and then as artists, you know, as they've developed paintings, like they've realized, oh, at some point you can leave them a little bit less unfinished. You know, like Rembrandt was accused of that. Like his paintings are unfinished. They're beautiful, just the way they are. And so that's kind of like impressionism and stuff. Like they'd say that about the impressionists too. Like they looked the paintings had an unfinished look to them. But you know, we just call it very painterly now. And so how what degree of realism do you want to get in here? And I think seeing some painterly, like having some brushstrokes and some liveliness to your painting is exciting. And I like all different types of styles and every genre, and you know, but you know, find what works for you. But if you kind of paint loose like this from the beginning, at least that gives you an option. You can say, well, I've painted loose before, and now if I want to try to do that, I can do that. Um, Whereas if you just go like from the very beginning, you're like, it's going to be hyper realism. It's going to be very stiff. Yeah. So when it's wet like this, you can um, really blend it. You know. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You know, I've blended it. When it's really wet, you can kind of get that smear. You can see how it kind of smeared through those trees. But I'm putting it on a little bit drier. The brush is a little bit drier now, so um, kind of painting through the lens of this camera. It's kind of watching myself paint on video. It's kind of weird. Okay, so really at this point, we've got our lights and our darks, compositions all mapped out. And really, we just have a choice to see like how far do we want to like push the detail or like how much do we want to leave out. So it's just like kind of depending like what kind of style of painting do we want. Some people kind of leave paintings like this, like, oh, it's done. Um, they're usually a little bit better than this though. So, and they might have like a few more little extra little things on there. But I've seen some that were like finished like around the same stage. You know, like so if I were to spend like 5 more minutes just putting like a few little things in there, that'd be done. I'm not going to do that. I want to like and I would like you guys to kind of push it too, just to see like where's that sweet spot. We can do this all day long. Like we know we can get here. You can document it, take photo, and then let's push it. Let's see how far you can take it. And if you overdo it, no big deal. There's always another painting. We can always kill the detail too. So just keep that in mind. Let's continue on though. All right, so I'm overdoing it. Got a lot. I got the small brush out. I started adding all sorts of little detail, as you can see, even in the cranberry bogs, just a lot more detail. And then just now I'm starting to kill the detail because I went too far, and I'm just like, this got out of control. So um, you'll see I paint over sections. At this point, I was actually just showing a little trick of, you know, painting the tree trunks light, then painting over the darkness over a light, and then scratching in the tree trunks. That's how I got those tree trunks in there. But
tree branches, or I don't know if you guys can see that, but
eventually I just switched to using a larger brush. You can see this is the size of the brush. I basically used this brush to finish up almost the rest of the painting. And there it is. That's what it looks like. That's the finished product.
all right. So I think we're gonna call this one done. I just put my name on it, so um, I don't know. What do you think? I think it's done. All right. I did, for a small, quick little painting like this, I think it turned out pretty good. We kind of battled through it. We started off, kind of loose, and then we made it tight, and then we brought it back loose again, and we kind of, I don't know. I got it to a point where I was pleased with it. It's not overly detailed, but it has some, and it also just has some interesting marks, and brush strokes in there and stuff too. So I think it works on a few levels. I also think there's some things kind of interesting that happened in the painting, which were pretty cool. Like I had this sky, and it was more detailed, and I wanted to kill the detail. And when I was reworking it, I ended up like it had like this Godzilla cloud in there, and I was like, "What? How'd Godzilla end up in my painting?" He always ends up in my paintings, Godzilla. Dang it! So I just tweaked it a little bit. I wasn't even trying to think about Godzilla, and I was like, "Oh, look, it almost got like this angel figure instead." Who knows how that happened? I don't know, but I thought, well, we'll keep the angel in there. And so anyway, I don't know if you guys see that. Maybe you don't see it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I was listening to too much music while I was playing. But anyway, I think this one's a keeper. And is it my best one? I don't know. From the quarter, we started off with whatever this thing is. I don't even know which way. This way, right? Where did I even sign it? I did. It goes like this. This one, not probably my best one, but the non-objective painting turned out okay. Then we moved on. The still life. Did the still life? I think the still life turned out much better. The still life is a contender for the best one for the quarter for me. I think so. Then we had the land or the master influence. So yeah, turned out pretty good. I don't know how well I nailed my influence, uh, but it turned out okay. And now we're on this. So look, some paintings are going to be better than others. Is this my best one? Probably not. But you know what? It was cool, and I don't think it's bad, and I think it might have some really interesting elements that kind of crept into it in the end. So um, I'm pleased with it. It's another painting. We just move on. We're gonna do a next one, and so we're moving on to excuse me. We're still battling this sickness. So after I film this, I'm gonna go take a nap, unless my kids don't let me. So anyway, we're gonna go do our final project next. So see you next time for that one.